Okay, guys, so 6.1 honors, 5.1 math 7. So we're going to write two-step equations. Now, I think it's actually harder to write these out than it is to actually solve them, so it is a little bit tough. The essential questions here are, how does an equation show the relationship between variables and other quantities? Okay, so I'm going to read you the example 3, okay? So what it says is, at the mall, Claire buys a hat that is 60% off and socks that are reduced to $5.49. She spends a total of $9.49. It says, let X represent the cost of the hat. Which of the following equations correctly represents Claire's shopping trip? Okay, so you'll see this in there. And you're going to see these 3 equations. And you're going to be like, which one represents it correctly, okay? Now, from my point of view, it is fairly simple at the fact that they made the total right here. The only one that is correct. But we want to double check that to make sure. That would be my first go-to, though. I'd be like, okay, they say the total is $9.49. Is equals $9.49. I've been telling you guys all along, right? Is means equals in an equation. Okay. The other part, though, that we want to look at is 60% off. Okay, now here's the deal. 60% off, right? So when we say 60% off, if I'm looking at $10 and I say that it's 60% off, we would multiply it by 0.6 as a decimal, and that equals $6 off, okay? So that means it's $6 off. But 60% off, that means I would have to take the $10 again and subtract 6 to get $4. $4 is the price. Here's the point, guys. 60%, right? 60% off plus 40% is going to make 100% of the price. So in other words, when I do this, when they say that the hat is 60% off and it's represented by X, I'm going to put the X there, but I'm going to put it multiplied by 0.4, which is 40%, because we want 40% of the price of the hat. Even though it's 60% off, we want 40% of that price. Okay? And we're going to go over that over and over again. You've probably seen it somewhat, but we're going to make sure you really get it, okay? The other thing is that the socks are $5.49, okay? So we're adding these two things together to equal a total of $9.49. That means these are both wrong, okay? We verified it. All right, guys? Okay, so let's look at the next one. Now, this one is Excel number 2, okay? Now, what we have to do is we have to be able to put into an equation these type of sentences, and that's what I'm trying to do right here, okay? So this says 15 more. Now, if I see 15 more then, that means that we are adding something to it. So I would automatically put right here plus 15, okay? Now, the thing is, I can put X as that number. Okay, so remember we're using variables here. So I'm going to put X as the number we don't know. And we know it's 15 more than that number. We also know that it's 4 times a number. In other words, a number is X. It's 4 times X. 4 times X. Remember, is means equals, and then negative 15. Okay, we put these into these terms, guys, because we need to learn to take common language and put it into an equation, because we will speak in common language. We're not going to speak like this. I've had my wife before, and I've told you guys this story before, where she said, hey, this blouse is $60 and it's 40% off. What is 40% of $60? Of meaning multiplication. Is meaning equals, okay? That will help us to be able to go through and solve these type of problems. All right, let's go to the last problem. Okay. Now you may hear me mess this up just a little bit. I'm hoping I don't. Okay. So what they did was they went through and they asked you in this question on Excel 7 to go through and figure out which one is the correct for this. Okay. Now here's what we need to remember. It should say 5 times a number. Okay. That's one thing we should see, 5 times a number, right? It also should say more than 12 because it's adding. If it says less than 12, then it's subtracting. And then it should say is 32 because it has an equals in it. See that, guys? How we're catching on. We need to catch on to that type of language. Now, after you figure out which ones are correct on this one, then you have to solve this equation. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this again and we're going to solve it. So it's 5x plus 12 equals 32. Now, we're going to do this the same as we did some of the others. We're going to combine a few things. The first thing I want to do here is I want to see how many terms I have. Okay, so I'm going to separate these terms. I've got 5x and I've got a positive 12. 32 is another term over on the other side because terms can also be separated by an equal sign. Now, what we need to do is we need to isolate the variable. At this point, it has a number with it, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of any terms that are on the same side of the equation as the variable. In other words, I need to get rid of this positive 12. Plus 12, right? So we do this the opposite. We subtract 12. Because when I do this, then I get 0, and 5x plus 0 is just going to be 5x. But I can't do something on one side of the equation without doing it on the other side. So I have to subtract 12 over here too. So like I said, this is gone, right? It becomes 0. 12 minus 12 is 0. So this is just 5x. This equals, then I subtract 32 minus 12 is 20. Now, I've got the term with the variable by itself, but it has a 5 with it. Now remember, this is multiplication. When these two are together, this is multiplication. That means I need to do the opposite again. The opposite of multiplication being division. So I'm going to divide this by 5 because anything I divide by itself is 1, and then 1 multiplied by x is x. And we've done our job then of isolating the variable, getting x by itself. But again, I cannot do the same. I cannot do something on this side of the equation without doing it over here. So that means I'm going to divide by 5 here also. So this is gone. X is by itself. 20 divided by 5, every fraction is a division problem, is 4. And that is my answer. Okay. Now, if we want to make sure that this is correct, we plug it back into the original equation. In other words, 5 multiplied by 4 is 20, plus 12 is 32. It makes a true statement, and so we know we have the correct answer. Okay, guys, there's going to be a lot of questions on this. It's going to take a lot of practice to be able to get this down. So stick with me. Make sure you ask plenty of questions in class. All right, guys.